Well, hello again. Thanks for coming back to hear my story. Where were we last week? Oh yes, the World Health Organization had just commissioned me to find a lost artifact that held the cure for man's greatest disease. I had heard rumors of a lost map that contained the first clue to this mission. I headed off to the greatest library in the world to search for this map. Where is it? Spent hours scouring this library for a map to the lost artifact, but there's so much information to go through. And the greatest men in time past have left their life's work in this library. Alexander the Great, Kublai Khan, Oprah Winfrey. Wait a second. I had been particularly interested in the works of Hernando Cortez, who conquered the ancient Aztecs in his search for the lost city of gold. While searching through his writings, I discovered a map penned by Cortez himself. The rumors were true. Otto, what's up with this page? There's something inside. Ah, a map! It looks to be quite old. I wonder if this was Hernando's. But is this really hundreds of years old? It is. And it leads to Mozambique. This map, once deciphered, would lead me on a journey I would never forget. But I had to make sure it was authentic. I was particularly careful when verifying its credibility, because just a week prior to this event, I was coming out of a Walmart and a mysterious man approached me. He advised me that he could provide me a map to the thing I needed most. I assumed he meant a map to the artifact, so I hastily accepted his offer. Turns out, he was a homeless man named Dave, and the map just led me to the nearest McDonald's. Also, he stole my wallet and my car keys. But enough of that. I'm sure you can understand why I wanted to be sure that this was the real deal. After a careful study of this map, I was sure that it was credible. After all, how many maps signed by Hernando Cortez could there be? Convinced that I finally had the right map, I began my journey. I started by booking the first flight I could find on cheapoair.com to Mozambique, South America. However, I was not able to complete this flight because I could not seem to find my credentials. Turns out, when Dave stole my wallet, he took my passport as well. Curse you, Dave. A few days later, I finally had the incredible luck of finding a small private aircraft that was willing to make the journey, without a passport. A few hours later, I was off to Mozambique. The takeoff was less than smooth, and we faced several difficulties along the way. First, we ran into a horrible thunderstorm. Then the plane ran out of gas. As the plane lost power, we were forced to crash land into the Amazon rainforest. I started to wonder if the man flying this plane was actually a pilot at all. As it turns out, he was not. It was Dave. Curse you, Dave. Dave clearly had it out for me, so I crawled from the wreckage and fled into the jungle. A few hours later, I was off by myself and quite lost. I knew I had to get my bearings if I wanted to survive, and I still had the search for the lost artifact at the forefront of my mind. It was already late in the evening, and as time passed, the sky began to darken and the jungle noises began to grow louder. A fear crept over my body, and I was suddenly all too aware of the fact that I was alone. My mind wandered back to a time long ago, when I was still a young child. I often would feel the same fear in the darkness of my room. Mother would always tell me that God was watching over me, and that he would protect me. But I no longer believed in this God. I had science, education, and technology. There was no room for a belief in some invisible God. The sound of a twig snapping suddenly jolted me from my thoughts. I looked and off in the darkness I could see two eyes glowing, staring right at me. I reached for my trusty army revolver and... well, it's getting late, and this feels like a good stopping point. So come back next week and we will pick up where we left off.